You leaving the camera on, Zion?
Yeah, we're on live now. And mute your camera, your mic, Zion.
You always want to be in the spotlight. Center of attention. I also like to mention I am not about to why. It's like that because we even it hot. You always want to be in the spotlight. Center of attention. I also like to mention I am not about to why. It's like that because we even it hot. You always want to be in the spotlight. Center of attention. I also like to mention. Yeah, right. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, shalom, shalom. Shalom to our listening and viewing audience. All praises unto the Most High for this glorious day. Many people did not wake up this morning. So let's be thankful for the opportunities that we have. Want to give all praises unto the Creator, Yahweh, King of the universe, author of our souls and our salvation. Giving reverence unto the Mashiach, the Messiah, the anointed Son. He who has shed his blood for our lives to redeem us and bring us back to the Most High. Also want to acknowledge all the elders, past and present, that paved the way, that's continuing to get this word out, that's continuing to endure under the current social status and conditions that we are in as a people. My name is Kazak Rakar, of course, from Shagayah Shah Yahweh Shai, which is Hebrew for the ambassadors of Christ, from the tribe of Benjamin. I'm broadcasting from Brooklyn, New York. There's a lot of things going on in the area, mostly wicked. So we're praying to be taken up out of this this current realm of existence. But in the meantime, let's try to enjoy some peace and knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, so we can operate in this current social climate. And also on the screen, we got two very knowledgeable brothers, strong pioneers in the faith, brothers that continue to labor, to endure, and set not only a great example for their families, but also for their communities. Brother Bashar, man, brothers, man, state your name, man, your tribe, where y'all broadcasting from. How y'all brothers feeling today, man? Start with you, brother.
Tawab, all praise to the Most High. My name is Zion. Man Yahweh, Man Yasha'Allah. Zion, son of Judah, son of Israel.
Done. Hey, shalom. My name is Ambassador Yabatazar Ban Yahweh Ban Yashala, coming straight out of the city of Chicago. Beautiful day to be a servant and to serve the Most High. We give all praises to the Most High and His Son, the Mashiach.
All praises, man, to the Most High for giving you brothers life and, teaching in your perspective zones by way of Chicago and Cleveland, Ohio. And, just keep in mind always for all of us, even the listening audience, that the words of the Most High doesn't go out void. So even when you dropping, jewels on the people, giving them information, don't think that the Most High is not going to, when Judgment Day or when that time periods come, they're gonna remember. They're gonna remember. So the hardships that brothers face is not unnatural. That's been going on since Adam. It's always been like this. So if you're going through things that seem unnatural, if you're going through certain things that seem awkward, it's a part of the walk. It's a part of the tribulation. Christ said in the scriptures that the peace I give unto you, that's his peace. The world has its peace as well, but it's temporary. So that's why we have to draw from the fountain of living waters. Just like the Samaritan woman that asked Yahushua about the well. He told her, if you drink from this well, you're going to thirst again. But if you drink from me, your thirst will be sufficed. And in that way, it's referring to the words of the Lord, right? Because he said that man should not live by bread alone. You can't live by just food, resources. Those things are material. You don't know what can happen in this current climate. You don't know what can happen tomorrow or next week or next month. So we have to keep that in mind, that what we need, more importantly, as opposed to the physical things, is the spiritual things. The spiritual things are what's going to sustain us. Because when it gets chaotic out here and everybody is all over the place, the Lord said, man, that those that he chosen, those that he put that spirit in, is going to be protected. We're going to be put under his wings.
Sure.
All right. So we want to bring some information out today, as we all know, everybody in the world here in North America is celebrating the 4th of July. All right.
Come on.
Because the so-called founding fathers of this country, they lied. All right. They put out misinformation. They deliberately called themselves Christians, but yet took the Bible and used our words that our ancestors wrote down, that was given to them by the Most High, and they used it against us to empower themselves, to steal our nationality, to oppress us. And they did that by way of legislations, Bill of Declarations, Constitution. And the Constitution was put together to govern those that was in government. But of course, they had ratifications here, ratifications there. So these things were done deliberately to keep us from knowing who we are, keeping us from having the ability to communicate with the Most High, and for us coming together.
Right.
So our class is going to be pertaining to the 4th of July. And the title of the class, as it states, is, I wrote it down on a piece of paper. I know it's a speech about Frederick Douglass.
Yeah.
You know what? Tell me the title was.
I got the title for you. The title of the class is "What to the American Slave is Your 4th of July?" with a question mark.
Right.
Before we dip off into it, let's just do it the ALC way real quick. Let's just shout out all the people tuning in. Shout out to the brother Tomato, Sister Wana, always on time. They says she loves and misses us. Got brothers feeling good over here. Sister Issachar Princess, Tavolia Harmon, always tuning in. Who else we got? Look like we got the brother Jeff checking in today. And that's so far, that's all I see in the chat. So we can go ahead and kick it off.
Con. Hey, the water, brother Jeff, for tuning in. Sister Wanda, all praises to see you in the chat. Issachar Princess, all praises for the Most High, allowing you to fellowship with us today. Who else? Who else is in there?
We got
Tiffany Harmon.
Yep, it's a correct princess.
It's correct princess. Shout out to you as well, Tiffany Harmon, and Brother Tomato. Interesting name. Tomatoes are good for the eyes. You know what I'm saying? Very good for the eyes. Very good. Everybody say tomatoes a vegetable. But it's a fruit though. You know what I'm saying? So all praises. All right, we got one more brother. I think that's trying to come in. Is Mike trying to come in?
In the back?
No, I thought it was. No. So let's get right into the lesson at hand. And I want to start off with Amos, the book of Amos, the 5th chapter, and the 19th verse. Let's elaborate on the words of the Lord as it pertains to not only, the 4th of July, but also to the other phony holidays, these fake solemn assemblies that have nothing to do with the Creator. All right. We go off of the Hebrew calendar. In the Hebrew calendar, we have a spiritual calendar. We also have the physical calendar. We know the spiritual calendar starts in the 7th month, which falls around September. And we have high holy days within that month, such as Memorial Blowing the Trumpets, which is the highest new moon of the year, the Day of Atonement, and also the Feast of Tabernacles. Then you got the physical new year that more so is in alignment with the agriculture of Israel, which starts around March. Mm-hmm. And the calendar that we're using right now in this wicked setup is the Gregorian calendar. Mm-hmm. The month of July was named after Julius Caesar. All right. One of our oppressors in our captivity. So we see that the so-called white man has deliberately changed times and seasons for a reason. He has done these things for a reason. And because of him doing so, the whole earth is out of course. We can estimate and guesstimate, what time period we're in as it pertains to us being in the last days. Because we know that according to scripture, the Most High did say that in the book of, don't misquote me, but in the 3rd day we shall be revived. One day with the Lord is as 1,000 years. And he said, and once the 2,000 years is up, then we will release out of this captivity, this current oppression, this current system that's going to be obliterated by thermonuclear destruction in the near future. Right? So we can estimate, but at the same time, we still don't know. So when Yahushua comes back, he said in the scriptures when he was on this earth that he didn't know when he was going to come back. That was going to be all up to the Most High. But we know that the Most High also says in the scriptures that the sins of Babylon has reached up to heaven. So once the seal of 144,000 or 1/3 is sealed with the law, statutes, and commandments within their minds, that's when we can expect to start to being really delivered out of here. But in the meantime, we're going to see things happening within the government. We're going to see things taking place throughout the world in these different countries, especially in the land that belongs to us, which is the land of Israel. All right. We're going to see things going on in the community within our realm. So our job is to not be dismayed at these things, but to know that these things are supposed to come. All right. So let me get the book of Amos, the 5th chapter, and the 19th verse.
This is the book of Amos. Call that one more time. I don't want. The fifth chapter, 19th verse.
Con, Amos 5 and 19.
Con out of one. This is the book of Amos, chapter 5 and verse 19. As if a man did flee from a lion, and a bear man.
My bad. I apologize. Amos 5 and 21. I apologize.
Amos 5 and 21. I despise your feast days, and I will not smell in your solemn assemblies.
So we know that when the Most High made this statement and he was speaking to the prophet Amos, he was talking to Israel that was in a state of moral decay. And as it pertains to peace offerings, the burnt offerings that Israel presented, it wasn't presented in the right spirit. It was presented in the spirit of envy, malice, jealousy that they had towards each other. All right. And obviously the leadership was not in tune with the Most High. But we know that the scriptures have entendres or double entendres and triple entendres, meaning that what was recorded in the past has an effect and it means the same thing today. And it means something at another certain time period in history that pertains to us as a people. So national Israel, the Lord said, I hate and I despise your feast days. And I will not smell in your solemn assemblies, in your gatherings. So here we are today, 2024 AD, and our people continue to push the agenda and the upliftment of their oppressors. It's supposed to be a time of liberty, but the driving force for liberty throughout all the wars here in America has been the Negro, has been the so-called Negro, along with Gad, but the driving force that has made the American Revolution, World War I, World War II, where allies were able to come together and defeat their opponents, was because of the skillmanship, the Most High putting the spirit on us to defend and protect our enemies, man, on this foreign soil. Because guess what? Again, this is not our land. This is not our land. We have every right to be here because this is our brother's land, right? But we see what happened to Gad and the things that they went through, especially during this time period when you had the British colonies that was trying to become separate under the rule of Great Britain. And how they played, just how wicked they are today and conniving that they are. They was able to play us against our own brothers, Tribe of Gad, so forth and so on. All right. But we're going to go into that as well. Read that again, Zion.
This is the book of Amos, chapter 5 and verse 21. I despise your feast days, and I will not smell in your solemn assemblies.
Like the Most High is not going to smell none of that food that Negroes is outside cooking right now. He not, Heavenly Father, please bless this rack of lambs or pork that's on the grill or hot dogs or hamburgers. May the Most High allow rain to pour on every barbecue, every barbecue in America right now. I pray and hope it does. All right. You so-called Negroes, so-called Hispanics, so-called Native Americans. All right. Because when we do that, we help to bolster the confidence of the so-called white man and his rulership in this land. And then when you read and understand the stuff that was going on and taking place with our people at this time period, man, it's enough. It's enough for Frederick Douglass, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X to turn over in their grave, man. If they saw what Negroes was doing right now. We was championing liberty for the so-called white man with the hopes that he would be fair to us in return. Right? Did it happen? Hell to the no. Hell to the no. And I'm going to read a speech by Frederick Douglass. Dr. Zion, y'all want to add on to that? Can't hear you, Dr. Zion.
So, Lucky, if you really want to think about it, I mean, what has this so-called Independence Day done for us, period? I mean, every time I look up in my lifetime over the last 50 years, all I see is a bunch of niggas out here shooting and killing each other in the Festival of Independence. How the hell are you free and you set apart from your enemies from captivity, but then you turn around and murder your brothers and sisters as part of your celebration? Just last night, they were in Chicago. There was like, I saw a story, and I might pull it up if I can find it, but there was something about people, like 7 people got shot last night and wasn't even the 4th, and 3 of them were little children. So I don't understand how we're celebrating something that is part of our destruction. There's nothing great about it. None of this has given us true liberty. We're still being taxed by the Romans, by the Americans. That's not being free. Liberty is being completely free to be able to move and do as you want. You can't leave this country without a passport. You got to work for them, and they're going to tax you every kind of way. I'm still looking for that dude named FICA. I need my money back. I digress.
Good. FICA's probably not even a living entity. You know what I'm saying? But not even a living entity. But whoever FICA is, he wants his money.
Yeah. I'm looking for that Social Security too, because now they're giving it to everybody else, wiping it out. So all my earned tax money and all of this for this so-called liberty is showing me nothing.
Con. And you know what? That's the false hope that we were sold. You know, we dealt with the ultimate snake salesman in so-called white men. You know, not only did they make promises they didn't keep to us, he made promises he didn't keep to Gad and Reuben in this land. So when we analyze what today, this day really is, you know, it's not a day of celebration. And if you are celebrating it, then that just shows, you know, it just shows our people at the end of the day that, you know, they lack knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And even in Job 8:8, it tells us to turn to our forefathers, to go into the past, to learn from the events and the things that took place while under these harsh conditions. I see the Sister Wonder Wana said the state celebrates on the 3rd here in North Carolina, fireworks shows everywhere. They've been busting fireworks for the last 2 weeks here in New York. You know, they've been and just to do it. And he just busts off fireworks just to bust off fireworks. For any time there's a stupid celebration going on here in America. So yeah, they doing that all over the place. But I'm gonna read this speech by Frederick Douglass. And what's the title of the class again? You about to up? Your volume is off. Say it again.
The name of the title is "What Is to the American Slave Is Your 4th of July?"
Right. So that was a question that Frederick Douglass asked. What is it to you so-called Negroes What is it to the so-called white man that we are to celebrate the 4th of July? And we know that Frederick Douglass was one of the leading political leaders and abolitionists of that time. All right, he was, what makes him special, that he was self-taught. He taught himself how to read and write. Think about that. The man taught himself how to read and write. No one taught him. He taught himself how to read and write. But I thought Negroes were dumb. I thought Negroes were ignorant, unintelligent. Right? The water for that picture, I don't want. All praises. All praises. He carried himself as a dignitary of that time. Frederick Douglass was a great orator. Think of what's the brother, James Earl Jones, in his prime. He was a great orator. And the fact that he was able to go to the North, Massachusetts, and even though they had their biases and slavery was in existence at certain points in times, he was able to express the struggles, the inhumane circumstances of his people, not only in the South, not only in the North, but also in the Caribbean, because he did go to Haiti as well, and he taught our brothers and sisters over there in Haiti. All right. He was considered to be functioning, intelligent, and an independent American citizen. All right. And guess what? He had firsthand knowledge of what slavery was about, because guess what? He was in slavery. He was in slavery. So he was able to speak and convey the ill treatment, the hypocrisy of the United States government based on their own writings that they put together in the Constitution. Remember, they said that an enslaved Negro was considered 3/5 of a human being. So we wasn't even human. We were subhuman in their eyes. So in them doing so, they took away our right to vote. They took away our right to own land and property. We was reduced to doing certain occupations and jobs that the so-called white men did not want to do. And when they claimed to have freed us for assisting in their liberty, in their war against Great Britain, they turned around, wrote bills, enacted codes, legislations to keep us and to hinder us, because the so-called white man's greatest fear was an uprising in America, a revolution, and us waking back up to who we truly are. All right, so I'm gonna read this speech, or insert that Thomas Jefferson wrote in his speech. Where's it at? Hold on. So I answer a day that reveals to him more than all other day in the year, referring to the 4th of July, the gross injustice and cruelty to which is the constant victim. Meaning that the so-called Negro has always been in a situation of injustice and cruelty, and he is a constant victim, even in the day where he was supposedly fighting for liberty and justice with the hopes of themselves being free, being allocated the same rights that all human beings enjoy at some point in time. Let's not forget that they did have indentured servants and they had wages that came over here to the Americas, and they were reimbursed for their hardship and their labor. How do we know? Look at Moab. Look at the Chinese. There's a Chinatown in every damn city in America. Compensated for their hard work and labor. Right? The Arabs. They come to over here to the Americas, open up a store, bodega, 7-Eleven, you name it. Elam too. And they came over at some point in time as indentured servants. Us, we work for free. Never compensated. When we ask about it, when we declare it before the rulers and magistrates of this current ecosystem, known as the Democrats and the Republicans, they both deny it. No, if we do that, inflation is going to bankrupt America. But they had no problems giving resources and money to Hiroshima, to the Japanese when they bombed them. They had no problem going after the Third Reich Nazi parties and the relatives and ancestors that benefited from the so-called Holocaust. Right? They have no problem sending the Indians of Bangladesh and Pakistan. They get free schooling to become doctors, all paid for by Great Britain for introducing the caste system. So they're compensated for their oppression. But what about the so-called Negro here in America? What about the so-called Negro in the Caribbean? Latin America, South America, totally non-existent. Totally non-existent. All right. So did you read the 22nd verse out of 1 in Amos 5:22? Read that for me out of 1.
Verse 22. Though ye offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings, I will not accept them. Neither will I regard the peace offering of your fat beasts.
Right. So the Most High said he's not going to accept any of those things from us. First and foremost, back then, he wasn't accepting because we wasn't right in spirit. Now the Most High is not going to accept it because now we're not only not right with the Most High, but we're celebrating days that celebrate our calamity, our destruction, and idolatry. So the Most High is not smelling on these feast days. And we have to come to the realization that as time progressed, you know, we fought back in ancient times, our ancestors fought in the American Revolution. And the American Revolution was colonies trying to emancipate themselves under Great Britain rule. You had delegates from the British colonies who were already occupying the Americas, together with also the French and the Spanish. But they took it upon themselves to either purchase lands or to go to war with the Spanish and the French that was still occupying certain places such as Louisiana, Florida, certain areas out west in Texas. they took it upon themselves to get those people out the land because obviously they had problems with them. And also, Gad was able to put them against each other, especially when it came to resources and commerce. So they had to eliminate that threat by getting the Spanish and the French up out of there. And that proved doom and calamity for Gad and Reuben, because now they didn't have nobody to you know what I'm saying, to play against those Edomites that was occupying what they call the American colonies at the time. All right. And the purpose, the main purpose as time progressed, Great Britain started to tax those that was over here in the Americas, put embargo on goods, control the goods that was coming from England, taxing those goods and taxing the goods that they made here in the Americas. And they said to themselves, well, hey, man, look, if we was able to get rid of the French and the Spanish, why we can't become independent from Great Britain? After years of talks and delegations and the meetings that they had, they took it upon themselves. So you know what? We got to do something about that. So the colonists, after years of disputes and regulations imposed on them from Great Britain, the colonies proposed that they wanted to be free. That is where the Boston Tea Party came from, or the Boston Massacre. When you read about Crispus Attucks, he was the first person to die on the front lines. All right, the front line. He was a brother to die on the front lines for quote unquote American freedom, man. Not black freedom.
It's a lot. Is that where they get the scary movies from? Where the black people always die first in the scary movie, man. The same way Crispus Attucks started.
That's where it started from. That's where it started from. It started from one brother, champion of the revolution and independence from Great Britain. But it also showed us that our people had hope that they would be out of the conditions that they were in, or start or something, you know. So as this is going on and they're about to go to war, here comes the leaflets and the pamphlets. You had free Negroes that was going up to the north, Great Britain line of scrimmage to fight with them. Then you had enslaved Negroes that ran away, enslaved blacks that escaped and went to fight with Great Britain. Now, all this is in place while there's debates. You had certain sects of society, like the Quakers, that viewed slavery as inhumane, so forth and so on. But slavery was the blood and life force of the South. In New England, the northern states, they were pushing for that industrial revolution, for machinery. They were pushing for technology. These are things that they were pushing for. So everybody not see they wasn't on the same wavelength. And on top of that, obviously the so-called white man and the slavers and the slave holders, they had a vested interest in us in order for their livelihood to be sustained. And also for the fact that our women were also, excuse me for using the word, but our women was their bed wenches. It's a known fact that Thomas Jefferson, the president, George Washington, had slaves.
Gosh,
and when he found out this, one.
Before you get too far into the next topic, I didn't want to just breeze over what you said as far as the Negroes went to fight, you know, voluntarily in these armies. And the number one reason why they voluntarily went to fight is because they were offered benefits and certain liberties if they fought. In the very beginning, we know that, as you said, the number one fear of the nation was a revolution of so-called Negroes. So they didn't want to put the weapons in the Negroes' hands, but they began to get beaten by the British Army because the British Army allowed so-called Negroes to fight in their military. So the Southerners were losing because the British colonies had started allowing Negroes to join their forces and fight against the South. And at that point, the South was losing. So that's when they made the conscious decision to start offering positions in their armies, or offering the Negroes, or the today we would call them the American blacks, to fight alongside of them. And that's the reason why they ended up overcoming the British Army. Because we can go in the scripture, it tells you that all nations will be blessed wherever we are, and wherever we've been in servitude, that those nations has prospered tremendously. And it's not because they had increased wisdom, it's because, you know, you can look at it this way. You say we were 3/5 of human, but our declaration, our constitution also tells us that we are gods.
Right.
So with having the power with the Most High God, we bring a certain element that no one else has. So with our abilities physically, mentally, not only our spiritual connection, we help these other nations that are oppressing us to succeed.
Right.
Because at this point, this is a punishment that we are required to serve out at this time. So that's one reason why everywhere that we're in captivity, those nations prosper. So the same way the United States is, or the Americas is the number one so-called country or the superpower, we can go back and look at, you mentioned earlier, you said we can go back to Rome. We also greatly involved in the Roman armies. So when you get to the book of Acts, when it speaks about Cornelius, you know, Cornelius was an Israelite that reached a certain level of status in the Roman army. And we can go into many sources to validate that. We can go into the book of Josephus. We can go into, just basic biblical websites. And it'll show you that the people that helped these nations prosper were the Israelite, the so-called Negro.
Right. And if I may, real quick, just to land me back off what the brother said, all we got to do is go into the first book of Maccabees, chapter 8, when we look at the Confederacy that the Jews formed with the Romans during the Punic, the Greco-Roman wars. How did the Romans win their war? Because they had Israelites in their army, standing front line. If you watch any wars where you find our people involved in, we're always the ones on the front lines. We're the sacrificial lambs in every battle. But like the brother said, you know, in the name of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, that we have that covering. Because when we walk right with the Most High, guess what? He fights on our side. And when the Most High is fighting on our side, any nation that we're with, they're going to be victorious. They're going to reap the spoils of those wars. Why? Because we're a warrior nation. Think about all the hardship we went through. We're talking about slavery. We're talking about the time of independence, right? Our people were still in slavery. If you give me a quick second, let me just pull something up real quick. I just want to show you something because a lot of our people are out here dancing and hooping and hollering about this 4th of July holiday, or Hell Day, as we like to call it, when it's not reality. Let me send it over real quick. I forgot to send it to myself. when we look at the harsh reality of it, our people are still on the slave chain, slave auction blocks. You'll find a lot of posters out there, stories about when they were so-called Europeans were protesting against slavery. So if they're protesting slavery on the 4th of July, that should tell you where are we at, sitting in the belly of hell in slavery. And we still see that today. Let me see if I can find the right one. Okay, here we go. Let me go into my messenger real quick. Let me see which one it is. Is this the one? Nope. All right, hold on. Yeah, let me share my screen real quick.
Cut on one.
So where is it? So you see right here, it says slaves for sale. I have 10 for sale, 10 likely young virgin and Carolina Negroes for which I will take to New Orleans acceptances at 6 or 9 months. Among them is a very superior cook, a good plantation seamstress. And if you look at the date, that's July 4th, 1836. Now the question is, where is Yazoo City? And I'm going to tell you in a second. Yazoo City is a city down in Mississippi, right off the coast. So we were not free, and there was nothing going on for us at that time. Like the chief priest said, and the brother Lieutenant Zion said, is that we were still in the auction blocks. We had no freedom with 3/5 of a man. So when they're looking at, just let's think about that concept with 3/5 of a man and the rest were beasts. So guess what do? You put your beast on the front lines. You sacrifice those beasts for victory. And on that, I digress.
God, the water on you, the water for everything, for the information, and just for the listening audience too. Just keep in mind that the first set of blacks or slaves, let's say that use that word, didn't come from Africa. They actually came from Spain. All right. These were the Moors that came over here to this country, but they were allocated certain rights. So when you read about certain books about, wait a minute, black man had slaves, he had servants, you know what I'm saying, in America. And I'm gonna read something that I wrote down. It said free African Americans before 1800 had some rights of citizenship because of their descendants and being lineage with the Moorish Empire. How you see a $2 bill, you see that black man chilling, hanging out with them crackers, dressing pretty sharp. So what was going on back then, right? Had some rights of citizenship, such as the ability to vote, serve on juries, and work in skilled trades. However, as racism grew and the need to justify slavery, free black people gradually lost these rights. They lost these rights. How? Let's get a scripture to go with this. Give me Psalms 96 and 20th verse, and also Psalms 83 and 4. And Balthazar, can you?
Salakia, call it out one more time so I can call each one out when we go so I can bring them up on the screen for you. Okay,
come, but I want you to also bring out Exhibit A's. I want to bring up something on this book. So the first chapter and verse is going to be Psalms 96 and verse 20. All right. Let me get that myself. Make sure that I'm on the right.
Psalms 96 and 20.
There's no double check that.
No, that's the wrong. Wrong.
Yeah, there's no 96.
Okay, it's Psalms 94 and verse 20. Slot. Psalms 94 and verse 20. Then after that, we're going to get Psalms 83 and 4. And I also want you to bring up after that Exhibit A and Exhibit B. And I'll show the title of the book. And for scholars out there that's in the audience, sisters and brothers, keep this scripture in your artillery belt when you go out there to go and verbally bust your weapons. All right, keep this scripture in your artillery belt. This is Psalms 94 and verse 20. Read that, I don't want.
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 94, verse 20. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which framest mischief by a law?
Which frameth mischief by what?
By a law.
By a law. What did they do with the first draft of the Declaration of Independence? They said, no, we can't put that out there.
None.
It's going to give Negroes too much power. You got to change that. What did they do with reparations? No, we can't do that. We got to put a bill into effect that, hey, look, we're cash strapped as the economy. We can't give them Negroes no money. Plus, we're going to make them prove that their ancestors were in slavery. They have to be able to prove that. So the so-called white man, he frameth mischief by way of a law. He does this. When he says the pen is mighty in the sword, he really meant that.
None. None.
He really meant that. The pen is mightier than the sword. And after they done wrote in the Constitution, they did not have in mind that the same rights was going to be allocated to us as a people. They did not have this in mind, but yet they were, quote unquote, the founding fathers of this country were, quote unquote, Christians.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't Christians, they were hypocrites. We know the foundation Christians were Israelites. They were Israelites, they were Jews. Read that one more time.
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 94, verse 20. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law?
And they frame mischief by a law. And you see how they put our people against each other, especially the Democratic Party. You got Joe Biden saying, hey, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. And Negroes fell for that, man. They fell for that.
Come.
Now you got Negroes running to the Republican Party. And meanwhile, both parties say, nah, we ain't giving you Negroes reparations at all. Can't do that. Can't do that. What Ice Cube said, black folks are too broke to be Republicans. And that's in the song that he wrote a long time ago.
Con. Hey, Slocky, can we get verse 21 too?
I don't want. Read that, I don't want.
Psalms chapter 94 and verse 21. They gathered themselves together against the soul of the righteous and condemned the innocent blood.
Right. And they condemned the innocent blood. They gathered themselves together against the soul of the righteous. And we know that the wicked hate the righteous. It's something about us and our personality and our spirits that the so-called white man hates. And we have the answers according to scriptures. Going right back to what? To Genesis, when the Lord said, there's two nations in thy womb, two different manner of people. We know that they're the byproduct of sin. When the Most High curse came and put that curse on them, that was a lack of pigmentation.
Con. We can see
That same spirit came back in Esau.
We can see that same thing in Proverbs 1:16. See the same thing about Proverbs 1:16 when their feet are swift to shed innocent blood.
Right. Here it is, damn O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson. He done passed away. Right? then passed away, got acquitted based on their statutes, their laws, their penal codes, under a jury of his peers. That thing happened so long ago. I was in high school. And this man was in a Bronco truck whipping that thing in California. Right? Got away. Not gonna say got away. Was found not guilty. Served some time for trying to retrieve some stuff that belonged to him. Then he was honored at BET Awards. To this day, you got the so-called white man that still holds him responsible for a crime that he was acquitted of, that he never did, that they claim that, hey, if he did, he did. I don't know, I don't care. I'm just happy to see that a brother got away. I'm just happy to see that a brother got away without being put in prison. And he got away by using the very same system that has oppressed us, that has stolen the lives of young Black and Hispanic men for decades and hundreds of years.
God, if I may, let's think about it. The way that the white people still rage about OJ today tells them that they still wish they was back during the time of independence, because they would have hung that nigga right in the middle of the streets, and everybody that was cheering for him and supporting him, meaning that they would have terrorized our communities, sending the KKK in their militias, kicking in doors, beating and raping our children to make one of us what we call today snitch on the whereabouts of Mr. Orenthal James, better yet known as Bruce. And juicing him off that tree, man. All types of wicked manners of wickedness, and pause on that.
Let me read one more time. Psalms 94 and verse 20. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which framest mischief by a law? And look at how mischievous that they did things, because once he was acquitted in the court of criminal law, what did they do? They basically found him guilty in the court of what is that? Civil court. So they convicted him in civil court, although he was acquitted or found not guilty in criminal court. So how could he be? That's double jeopardy, isn't it? When you charge more than once for the same crime, but you're found not guilty in one, then they find you guilty in the other court system. So that shows you right there what this is saying. Look at the mischief or how mischievous the law is that's put into play by these nations. And I'm not sure if you brothers are familiar with this information, but there's an Edomite guy, man, that's in prison that was convicted of being somewhat serial killer. He was killing women in the same manner that Nicole Simpson was killed, and he was the maintenance man of their condominium complex.
That's right. Yep, true. Yeah, there's a whole documentary about that cat. Yeah.
Wow.
They never once looked at him, never once questioned him. No, nothing. Just looked right past his mass murder.
Probably was a damn Manchurian candidate. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? But it's you know, like the Mossad, like this book is so powerful. It was as if the Mossad knew there's nothing new under the sun. Whatever was going on in the past is going on here today. You know, you look at Genesis 6, we forgot about them. What's Central Park 5? We forgot about them. Yeah, young people that lost their life behind bars, man. Traumatized, thrown in jail. Am I missing anything else?
No.
I'm sure there's plenty that you're missing. I don't know.
There's people in prison right now, innocent. Brothers that's innocent, but wrong place, wrong time. Then for them to get the resources which they don't have, because the majority of our people lives below the poverty line. You got a North American brother, I forgot his name. He's Gad. The man is like 80-something years, in his late 70s. Hypertension, losing his mind through dementia. But he was the one that was fighting for Gad during, when he had like remember the Black Panthers and he had the Young Lords. Gad had their own group. NAM, the Native American Movement. It was a shootout on some reservation, and they said that he was the one that shot and killed 2 FBI officers when it was a standoff. They didn't identify themselves, so they say. But this brother was thrown, is still in prison to this day. You got celebrities. You got people from all around the world that's vying for his release. But guess what? The families of the FBI? No. And they got substantial evidence to prove that it wasn't his gun. The ballistic bullets that struck those officers.
And you know what? That lines right over what I pulled on the screen, Psalms 10 and 8. He sitteth in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret places does he murder the innocent. His eyes quickly set against the poor. So pretty much some Edomite or government man went up in there and slaughtered those people. So what did he do? He sat there, he murked all the innocent people, and then he set his eyes on the poor. So guess what? That poor man, that 80-year-old elder, is the one suffering for a crime that everybody in their right mind know that that 80-year-old man physically, mentally could not even do. And they even said that the old man was even dealing with dementia and learning disabilities at his age. So it's impossible for that old man to have conspired to commit an act like that in a place like that at that same time, but to have all his marbles together. Nah, man, something was missing in an old man's cereal bowl. It took somebody much wiser and more conniving to pull off an act like that, which is our enemies.
See, the thing is that the brother, he's not, just like a lot of brothers who are so-called political prisoners, he's not there because he physically killed anybody. He's there because they know that he has the ability to assemble and to organize his people. That's the reason why he's there.
Con. And that leads right into the next scripture. Give me Psalms 83rd chapter in the 4th verse. And Baba Bashar, Yabatazar, would you mind putting up exhibit A and B?
You want me to pull them up now?
Afterwards?
Okay, kind of. Afterwards, I got you. Salaki.
Right.
I got them up. They already queued up ready for you. All right, come.
I'm going to start at verse 3, Adawan.
Come on, Baba Bashar, the water.
Psalms 83 and verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
Stop right there. It said they have taken crafty counsel against thy people. This is David in the spirit speaking about those that obviously was enemies to Israel as a state and as a nation. But it takes place also today in this present time. It's still going on. He said, I'm taking crafty counsel against our people. You know what it is to go behind closed doors and sit behind a desk and to strategize the downfall of a human being, but to sabotage a whole entire nation? They have taken crafty counsel. They destroyed the image of ourselves. So now we don't have that intellectual pride in our nation. Because why? We got black on black crime and black lives don't matter. Because guess what? If it did matter, Negroes would not be shooting and killing one another. right? But if the police gun us down, is a great opportunity for a lot of politicians to come out there, root us on, get us to vote, collect some tax dollars. Somebody's getting paid, but it's damn sure ain't us. So our downfall and our calamity and our trauma boosts ratings. It makes money for this world. Tons of money. That's why lawyers exist. That's why cops are present. The prison system is present. All geared towards our calamity and to make mockery of us. So they've taken crafty counsel, whether it's the entertainment industry, with the current music that they got being programmed on the radio, programmed in the minds of our people, whether they listen to it on the headphones, whether they pop in Percocets and drinking fancy champagne at the club, knowing damn well they got their gun inside their car, and they is waiting for someone to step on their shoes in order for them to be on demon time, right? Because you know Negroes can't have no fun without getting some sort of violence. That's the program that's set up through the education system, whether it's passing our children, knowing damn well that some of them don't deserve it. But they're going forth into life not equipped with the same education or the same sort of curriculum that the other nations are learning from. So they're more advanced than us when it comes to certain things, especially our children that go to these public schools. A lot of these public schools got outdated books. A lot of these public schools, they going off a curriculum that existed since slavery. Entertainment, education, even in the workforce. They take crafty counsel against us, man. We got to struggle and hustle just to get into middle class. By the time we get into middle class, they trying to cut the middle class out where it's just only two demographics, poor and the wealthy. That's how it's set up. So they've taken crafty counsel against thy people and also consulted against the hidden ones. And who are the hidden ones? We are the hidden ones, man. We are the ones that's being hidden from the destruction and the calamity to come that's going to take place here on this earth. They plot against us. It's $1 billion operation. $1 billion operation just to keep this truth out of the mouths of our people. So they censor us. Radio, television. They try their best, but you know, the internet has been that great equalizer. They want to FCC the internet now. Before we go into that book, I just want to read some of the comments from the audience. Sister Wonder Wana, it just started raining here. Oh, thunder and lightning. Somebody say, Khan, Sister Khan. Okay, all praises. I seconded it, and the Most High delivered it here in North Carolina. Who's next? All praises. I think it's going to rain in New York. I'm not sure if it's going to rain up here. I had to close the window. It was getting cloudy. And you know how it is. They busting their firecrackers super duper loud. So I had to close the window. So all praises, Sister Wonder Wana, you know what I'm saying, for you to experience the rain. I'm sure the Most High is clean up a lot of that filth that's going on down there in North Carolina. And I hope he does the same thing here in the tri-state area. It's correct, Princess. Extremely evil for sure. 1,000%. 1,000% sure of that. We're dealing with a nation of people that the Most High did not install those things within themselves as far as righteousness is concerned. They learned to be civilized through us. right? That's where the word, Anglo-Saxon comes from. Those were the people of Great Britain. They classify themselves as coming out of that lineage. And that also known as the angelic sons of Isaac. That's where the word Anglo-Saxon come from. So you hear about the Visigoths, right? Or even the original Quakers. When you read about the Vikings, even pirates, you're reading about Black people. But during the Renaissance period, they had to cover that up. All right? They had to cover that up, whitewash the paintings, the icons, destroy the busts, the noses off the monuments that was left throughout Mesopotamia. They had to become everything under the sun that belongs to us, that pertains to us. Because damn sure they did not want to be themselves because they didn't have no history prior to them coming out of the caves. All right.
The only time we're really seeing any history about any great white man goes back to Alexander. You really, most of that history is hidden when you're thinking about the history of the Khazars and the cavemen and all of that. They manipulated around those stories so much, and they purposely hid that information. So when you're coming out the caves and you're crawling all on fours and possibly even got a tail like an animal, that you had to hit, because there are a lot of Edomite babies that are still born with those deformities of having those tails. It's scientifically proven. So when you have that type of history, what do you got to do? It's shameful. So what do you got to do? It's just like a Jake right now, who's as we were saying in America, he's a nerd or a lame. He's from suburbia and all of that. All of a sudden, he want to prove who he is, and then all of a sudden, he takes on a gangster persona, trying to be something that he's not, saying that he's a Blood or a Crip or a Vice Lord or a GD or one of them type of cats, right? Or he been out here selling packs and working, and he moving bundles when he ain't been doing nothing but carrying a book bag full of books, like some of us nerds do right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm a nerd now. But it's the same thing. The best way to destroy people is to destroy their history. Without a history, you're no people. With no knowledge of self, you're nobody. So guess what? We're all Americans now. And we see that's been destructive for us. But real quick, let me just share something too. And then I'll pull up your tab. I just wanted to show something real quick. Let me just grab some. Because I mentioned this earlier about the way that we are dying out here, right? So let me just share some real quick, and then I got you queued up, Chief, please. All right, so right here, this is give me a second. It says this is mass shootings tend to increase around the 4th. These are warning signs FBI profilers say you should watch for, right? So as we sit back and we watch every year, there's more and more people getting shot. I personally don't believe that it's only Jake out here doing these shootings. I believe that they're using those masks. You got government agents out here going around the country dressed up in black, or as they like to do back in the past, blackface impersonating us, going around shooting and murdering our people in the Black and Native American, the Black and so-called Hispanic communities and things of that nature, right? So when you watch this happen over and over and over, it makes you scratch your head, right? Because if this is a time when Black people like to celebrate, then who would really be against us celebrating this when we go back to the origins? It has to be our enemies, because their independence was not our independence. It's the same thing when they tell us, hey, if you don't like it here in America, go back to Africa. It's the same spirit, right? It says our worst week for shootings. Law enforcement statistics and independent researchers have continually pointed to summer months as a time of increased violence in the U.S., an especially violent period each year for both mass shootings and individual incidents, July 1st through the 7th, right? So I just wanted to show that right there, this right here, right? It says more than mental illness, right? It says, although FBI behavioral analysts have long helped law enforcement agencies across the country prevent and solve crimes, the Bureau ramped up its proactive approach to curbing gun deaths in 2018 following what? Deadly mass shootings in Vegas and Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. So when we see these mass shootings, it ain't It always Jake doing this. The biggest mass murder on the planet. This has always been Esau, and it will always remain Esau.
Right. And it's definitely something that it doesn't get expounded on too much. Because I remember, just being out in the world, prior to me coming in this truth, fireworks was sometimes just a disguise. The more the fireworks, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's when people would plan certain, to take out their brother, so forth and so on.
Yeah.
But those are the things that I remember coming up. You got a whole bunch of firecrackers going off. You might as well just, let freedom ring, so-called freedom ring with the, what I'm saying, with an assault rifle.
Right. That's the same thing with brothers going in their backyards, letting off the hammer in the backyard, firing shots in there. What's the point, man? Right. What is it doing, man? That's not freedom to be able to bust your thing. But truly, I'd rather you bust it like that than busting at your brothers. The sister Wana said something. She posted a video of Esau in a polyurethane black mask looking like real brothers. Khan sister is exactly what I was talking about. All praises. Khan.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Tawada, sister, all praises. Khan.
I think I got the video on that too.
Right. So, let's get one more scripture. Give me Job 27:8, and then after you can put that exhibit A and B up on the screen if you can. Because we spoke a little while earlier about our enemies having to be us. Remember, Job 9:24 says the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. Right? But he was able to benefit from that. He was able to benefit from calling himself a Christian. He was able to benefit from calling himself a Jew from the tribe of Judah, which he's not. He was able to benefit from calling himself a noble. All these different titles that, magistrates carry to this day, when they actually belong to us and they go back to the ecclesiastical churches that was brought over here to the Americas. That was the judicial system, which is the scriptures. But here in America, the quote unquote founding fathers did not no longer want to be oppressed by their beliefs because they didn't agree with what the Queen or the King of England established at that time. So although they brought the same similar court system, we know they take the Bible, make you swear on it. They tell you it's the law of the land, but they judge you by their own penal codes. And Congress made that statement and said that the Bible is the book. Book.
I got something on that Queen of Liberty too before we get up out of here too to take you down a little rabbit hole with that too.
Count on one. When you get a chance, Baba Kashar, read Job 27:8.
The book of Job, chapter 27 and verse 8. For what is the hope of the hypocrite? Though he have gained, when the Most High taketh away his soul.
Right. What is the hope of the hypocrite? Though he have gained, what he's going to do when the Most High take away his soul? And we know what hypocrisy means. Hypocrisy is you're an imposter. You're not telling the truth. You're not being who you truly are. And the hypocrisy that they brought forth was the fact that, well, if you fight for us, you'll be able to have and experience the same liberties that we have. Never happened. Never took place. It never took place. What about the peace treaties that they made with the tribe of Gad and the 5 civilized tribes. If anyone doesn't know what the 5 civilized tribes are, look them up. They consisted of certain lineage families of the North American Indians, and not all, but some of them accepted treaties with the so-called white man to receive certain allocations and to receive certain benefits. But they also had to approve of slavery. All right? They also had to approve of slavery. And that goes right back to Psalms 83 and 4. Let us cut them off from being a nation. Let's take crafty counsel against them. So the hypocrisy that we have to deal with based on what the so-called white man put in place is evident for us to see. It's evident, it's there. Right? Give me matter of fact, this is not going to that scripture. You have the exhibit A and exhibit B.
Kind of the one pulling it up. Kind of the one pulling it up now.
Right, I'm gonna get some information because we know that there's books that exist that backs up the scriptures, that backs up the archaeology of the Bible. It backs up the geography of the Bible. So we go into certain books in order to show our people that whatever is written is for our learning. So we in the book, this book is called Black Americans, the 5th edition by Alfonso Pinkney. Alfonso Pinkney. Is it any way to enlarge it?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm doing. I got it enlarged, but I don't know how it's showing online. I'm looking at it now online. Okay. Yeah, it's up there. It's big. Can y'all see? Can somebody drop in the chat of one if y'all can see that clearly?
All right.
And
do you have exhibit A?
Say that again.
You have exhibit A?
Yeah, that's exhibit A right there. Can you see it?
Okay, it looked like B to me. My bad. I apologize.
Okay, hold on.
That's exhibit B.
Oh, that's B? Okay, let me get the other one. Hold on. Salakia. Okay, here it is right here. My bad.
Is that exhibit A?
Race, right? Page 21?
No. Exhibit A should have the letter, it should have the number 6 at the top. And it says historical background.
Let me stop sharing my screen for a second. Let me look at these real quick.
Come.
Okay, that's exhibit C. Exhibit B. Con, I got you. I got it right here. Con, I got it.
You got it?
Okay.
No problem.
Yeah, I didn't even realize those were there. Hold on. Okay, let's get it. Let me zoom in real quick. Okay, I'm at the very top of it.
Oh, and that's the best that you can get it for the audience, right? If anything, I'll just read it out loud. No problem. All right, so the name of the book is called Black Americans, 5th edition by Alfonso Pinkney. I was able to get my hands on this book because it was a school that was throwing out books. So I'm sure this was a part of some school curriculum. So I'm going to read the top part of page 6. It says, from the very beginning, my bad, slaves with whom he couldn't communicate in his native tongue, he was separated from them. Hold on. I'm going to start from the beginning. The African family system was destroyed, and the slave was separated from his kinsmen and friends. Moreover, in the United States, there was little chance that he could reknit the ties of friendship and old associations. If by chance he encountered fellow slaves with whom he could communicate in his native tongue, he was separated from them. From the very beginning, he was forced to learn English in order to obey the commands of his white masters. Whatever memories he might have retained of his native land and native customs became meaningless in the new world, right? So we see that same thing the Most High spoke to us about, Psalms 83, verse 4. They have taken crafty counsel against the Lord's people. They said, let us cut them off from being a nation. Let's separate them. Even David made mention of us in the scripture. This is Psalm 69. I'll get that in a minute. But he said, have I become a stranger amongst my own brethren? Amongst my own brethren. These are some of the curses that we had to go through on a continuous basis. And it's, yes, this was going on during the time period of the 4th of July. On the 4th of July, during this quote-unquote Independence Day. I'm going to read the very last portion at the bottom of the page. It says, while the impact of the law did not and could not completely wipe out the fact that the Negro slave was human. I'm going to read that again. While the impact of the law did not and could not completely wipe out the fact that the Negro slave was human, it raised a sufficient barrier to make the humanity of the Negro difficult to recognize and legally almost impossible to provide for. So they said they couldn't 100% annihilate the fact that, according to their law, that the Negro, the slave, those of our people of the tribe of Judah that was occupying this land, right? They couldn't obliterate the fact that they was still human based on their constitution, but they made it possible to demoralize us, to make us seem unintelligent, unintellectuals, that we can't be taught, we can't learn and conduct ourselves in high society. That's how they deemed us. That's how they portrayed us. Right? We read on. This legal definition carried its own moral consequences and made the ultimate redefinition of the Negro as a moral person most difficult. This is in their law books. This was taught in their colleges, their schools of learning. And they made sure that we could not, they didn't want us to learn how to read and write. They didn't want us congregating amongst each other. And if we did, we had to be supervised. If we went to church, there had to be a white man that was there, a slaver, slave owner, or someone there to observe us in our quote-unquote time of worship. Because they put in place these laws and ratifications to their documents that made sure that they oppressed us and made sure we didn't come together. Because us coming together can lead to a revolt or property running away. Yes, we was treated like property during 1776. Right? Put up Exhibit B if you don't mind.
No, I don't want. You know what? Give me a second. I just downloaded those things. I'm trying to figure out where they went so I can grab them.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, they should go more clear. I got this. I'm still trying to figure out my Mac computer, man.
Right.
Let me see. Where is it?
So when the Lord said that we became bywords, these were what he's mentioning. This is what he was mentioning of. That we shall become bywords and proverbs, not accepted among society, amongst our oppressors, because they put laws into place and they put doctrines out there to make us look like we were subhuman, to make us appear that we was unintelligent. And by so doing so, here goes our liberties. Here goes our rights. So here comes 1776. And now us as a people, we want to fight in order to gain access to the same liberties that our enemies had. But we was denied at every cost. We was denied. Even freed slaves. Some of them went right back into slavery because they didn't know how to sustain themselves on their own. They were so shell-shocked and so accustomed to being oppressed. They got freedom and they know what to do with it. Right? So meanwhile, as your Balthazar is finding that, let's get one more scripture. Let's get give me Psalms. Book of Psalms. 49th chapter and the 11th verse. Zion, Baba Kushab.
Psalms chapter 49 and verse 11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and that their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names.
Right, pause right there. It said their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever. And this, they believe, there's people out there that believe that this country is going to last forever. And you got those out there that know that this is the last and final stronghold of the so-called white race. The last rulership that we have to endure. And the elite understands that. They know that. That's why they building bunkers. That's why they're making plans to go into outer space.
Hey, Salaki,
They understand that.
Salaki, it's not going to let me share it the way that I want to, so I'm going to have to keep it the same way until I figure that out on the next class. You know what? Hold on. Wait a minute. This might be it. Hold on. Okay, hold on. No, it's still showing the same way. Salaki.
You don't have access to Exhibit B?
I got it right here on the screen now, but I can't share it as a picture. So I got it.
Okay, that's no problem.
Okay, cool. I got it up.
That's no problem. As long as it's up on the screen, that's Tawab. And again, the book that the brother has on the screen is a book called Black Americans. It's the 5th edition by Alfonso Pinckney. You can look that up if you want to add that book to your library. And we're in the book of Psalms 49 and 11. Read that again, other one.
Psalms chapter 49 and verse 11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, right, and the dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names.
He said they call their lands, meaning our lands, by their own names. By their own names. The lands that they took and stole from us, that they think is going to belong to them forever. Whether it's in Latin America, South America, the Caribbean islands. They took these lands that was being occupied by the Arawaks, that was being occupied by the Chickasaw Indians, the Cherokees, right? Occupied by the Aztecs. They had these lands already, these land masses and the land markers already set up because the tribes, they had certain families that was divided by land masses. But obviously it was stolen from them, renamed for the most part. And they believe that these same houses are going to continue forever. Right? That's Bible prophecy. It has taken place. It has existed. It is existing. And it's still going on to this day.
Let me read down the
This is not called New York by Gad. Gad didn't call this place New York. They had their own name for this land. But it was a York family that came here and established it, had the finances and the resources coming from Great Britain. And they was able to monopolize, bring slavery over here, establish a stock market, put their names of their families like the Skimmerhorns, the DuPonts, all these different families that came over here, established cities and sections that they felt, hey, look, this is gonna last forever. What you was gonna say, Zion?
I just wanted to continue reading down to verse 13.
Come.
I'm gonna start at 11 and just go down to 13. Psalms 49:11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. Nevertheless, man being in honor abideth not. He is like the beasts that perish. This their way is their folly, yet their prosperity approve their sayings. Salah.
Right. Right. And it says, nevertheless, man being in honor abideth not, is just saying man in his splendor will not remain, or man in his honor will not endure. You're not going to endure forever. All right. Man being in honor, he's not going to be around long enough to establish forever. That's not forever. It's only eternity given to us as Israelites that keep the law, statutes, and commandments. And remember, this land that we occupy right now, the Lord going to destroy this land. It's not going to be inhabited when you read the scriptures at some point in time. It's not. This place has to burn. And if you look at Sodom and Gomorrah today, where they have that over there in that region known as Mesopotamia, where Sodom and Gomorrah is at, the location, there's no fertile vegetation growing out that land. It's nothing but rocks over there. It's nothing but rocks. So when the Mossad sent that bomb, when they said that Lot's wife turned to what? Turned to salt. They did a test in that region, man. They said they found salt, high levels and concentrations of salt in that land. And I forgot the name they use it for. It's Mossad, forgive me, and forgive the audience as well. I'm gonna look it up when I get a chance before we hang up today. But I'm gonna find that material. It's another form of salt, something like benzene or something to that effect. High concentrations of it in that land. And you got philosophers, you got explorers, you got anthropologists that all they do is research, study lands and monuments that's mentioned in the scriptures.
Like, are you speaking of sulfur?
Sulfur, that's what it's called. Right. Sulfur. The water, I appreciate that on one. It's called sulfur. It's called sulfur. All right. So let's go to that book. This is page 7, Exhibit B. All right. Hence, I'm reading the top of page 7. It said, hence they were destined by God to serve Caucasians, right? That's what they taught in their school system. That's what they taught in their documents. That's what they believe. This attitude became dominant and governed the behavior directed toward them. Racial inferiority thus became the justification for the institution of slavery in North America. Furthermore, the free blacks were responded to in similar fashion. Throughout the slave era, Black people were accorded different treatment from whites, regardless of degree of achievement. Black status was based on ascribed, that is, racial characteristics, right? They say you might get a pass, maybe if you was a light-skinned Negro to certain effect, to certain liking, but was based on features. It was based on features. Even if you was free, you were still treated with disdain and animosity and cruelty and hatred. And we suffer behind that because it goes right back to the scriptures, us breaking the law, statutes, and commandments. When Yahushua made that statement in Luke, the 21st chapter, stating unto the disciples that the Roman armies, when Jerusalem is compassed with Roman armies, that this was going to be the time of judgment. 70 AD, Titus and Vespasian, they came into Jerusalem and Jews fled out of that region by the millions. That led about the beginning stages of us and the start of our judgment that was written of in Deuteronomy 28th chapter. All right. These are the things that we had to experience as a people. You got something you want to say on that?
Nah, the one I'm still over here working out the technical difficulties, trying to figure out how to make this work better.
Come. And I'm gonna read the part again where it says, hence they were destined by God to serve Caucasians. Now I'm gonna ask this to the audience, Salat family, for not getting y'all engaged, but now's the time that I want to get the audience engaged. I don't want you guys to feel left out. I know Sean Nathaniel, Chief Priest Sean Nathaniel, he gets on the StreamYard and he does his thing with the questions. So the question I have to you, why did Caucasians believe that Negroes, that Black people was destined for slavery? Read that statement again.
The Jeopardy theme.
Page 7. Hence, they were destined by God to serve Caucasians. Why did they believe that? All right. Is there some sort of biblical scripture? Is there some sort of passage that would have them to believe that they can use our book against us? Because they did use our book against us. Remember, they became all the prophets. They became the chosen people of God. They said that we are Gentiles now. Right? Let's get to the book of Genesis.
Another one, come.
All right, let's get Genesis. Genesis, the 9th chapter.
9 to 24.
Start at the 20th verse. See what that says.
Genesis chapter 9 and verse 20. And Noah began to be a husbandman, and he planted a vineyard, and he drank of the wine and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent.
Must have been a real hot day because Noah was having a good time, probably by himself or whatever. Planted a vineyard. That vineyard was ripe. It was time to consume. Right? See, now he's uncovered in his tent. You know.
Verse 22. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and told his two brethren without.
So here comes Ham's son Canaan. He saw his father's nakedness, right? And he didn't tell his two brethren without. He didn't tell his father and his uncle. Read on.
And Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both their shoulders, and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father. And their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness.
They saw not their father's nakedness. What Canaan, when you go into other books, it goes a little bit more elaboration into it. But when he saw his father's nakedness, he made, he was making mockery of him. He was making mockery of him. Read on.
Verse 24. And Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done unto him.
So a spirit revealed unto him what his grandson had did. Read on.
And he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren.
Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. And we know that, of course, Ham is a progenitor of the dark races according to the Bible Dictionary, the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, and Canaan is one of the sons of Ham. But what white America at this time did, they allowed this verse to show and prove that, see, you guys are the Canaanites. You guys are Canaanites, you're descendants of Ham, and God put a curse on you, and that curse was being black. All right? And there's books out there where they have protested this, they have stated this, and of course there's an argument behind that. The argument is that, guess what? The whole majority of the people on the planet Earth was black, was of color. It wasn't just Canaan that was a black man or, an individual of color or melanin. Shem was as well. Japheth was as well. But if you ask the so-called white man at that time, he'll tell you everybody in this Bible was white. So they'll attribute this particular verse to show that Canaan was cursed by God, and we are the children of Canaan. And that curse was us, having the features that we have today. Another misnomer, another set of lies and hypocrisy that was delivered by our enemies. All right. You got something you want to add on to that, Zion?
I'm gonna go to Zondervan, because a lot of them know that we are not Canaan as well.
Right. Another one.
I'm gonna go into the Zondervan and find definition of Ham. This is the Zondervan Bible, Compact Bible Dictionary, and it states that Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood, he became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. When his father lay drunken, brought a curse upon Canaan. Then it gives you the chapter, which is Genesis 9:20 through 27. So this lets you know that even Esau knows, let's say the elites know that we are not Canaanites.
Right. Con. And we got to keep in mind what kind of man that we're dealing with. We're dealing with a man that had no mercy on our children, had no mercy on our wives, had no mercy on our young men. They would beat our ancestors to the point where if they couldn't put holes, if they couldn't put a finger through your wounds because how tender your skin was, or how bloody your skin was, you wasn't beaten enough. They didn't adhere to the cries of our ancestors, to the elderly. But yet we wouldn't believe these people? Nah. Hell to the no. All right. I got a book, another book here I want to bring out. It's actually Exhibit C. It's from Babylon Timbuktu. And it goes into the origins of white supremacy in page 20, page 21. I'm gonna start from the top of the page. It says, dividing the world along a color line was an idea that originated with the white supremacists in Europe after the Renaissance period. And it's a lot, this to give credence to the brother that wrote this book. His name is Rudolph R. Windsor. That's Rudolph R. Windsor. He knew he was a Jew. He acknowledged that he was an Israelite. He did a lot of research. He traveled. He took his resources and he traveled and he wrote many books. And he's recognized as a scholar amongst the elite. He's taught at universities. He's a part of the Pan-African movement. All right. He also studied a lot of the teachings of Marcus Garvey. So he was well exercised and learned. Okay. So when he speaks of the world dividing us by way of color, that started from Europe. It started after the Renaissance period, because prior to that, the Greeks and the Romans wasn't putting people in captivity based on the color of their skin, because they were worshiping gods that looked just like us. Right? They weren't putting people in captivity on the basis of the color of their skin. And when they did have slaves, you were able to buy yourself out of slavery at that time period. Right? They were the minority. The rest of the earth was the majority. But they were in a position of power where they was able to conquer places like Egypt, Israel, to go into the interiors of Europe and conquer the families of Japheth. Right? So this was the power that Daniel saw in the book of Daniel about the four beasts that will occupy and have rulership on this earth. And of course, it's called the Greco-Roman Empire because it's an extension of the Greeks. Just like America is an extension of the Roman Empire. Because their rulership still carries on to this day. You want to say something about yourself?
No, I was going to say, when you finish that portion, could you read that part where it talks about the Middle Ages, right up under it, under your yellow?
Okay.
You go to the next section.
You want me to read that part? No problem.
Kind of one. Kind
okay, then I'm sorry, I cut you off. What you gonna say?
No. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, all right. So after the Europeans did not have any great civilization immediately after the fall of Greece and Rome. Next paragraph.
It says,
during the Middle Ages, Black nations of Africa and Asia had the greatest political, economical, educational, and military influence in the world. At this time, Europe existed in a state of darkness for 1,000 years. In the 17th century and later, Europe began to emerge out of the slough of ignorance, and certain Germans and other conceived of themselves as belonging to a superior race. And as we're going to read on, it's going to talk about individual, but just keep in mind that, like the brother explored and was able to bring out, you know, we had a political system, we had economics, we had architecture, we had high science, but all of that was taken away from us. It was stolen from us. We weren't given the credit. Those of our people that was able to push through mentally and to retain a lot of that information, especially the elders that was brought over here in cargo slave ships, a lot of them didn't survive that transatlantic slave trade. You got to remember, it was hundreds and thousands of our people. I wouldn't be surprised if it was in the millions that was dying on them ships, being transported as cargo back and forth from the west coast of Africa, right? And just keep in mind, the Germans, they would be like the Levites of the same way the Levites of the nation of Israel were like the mediators, and they dealt with the peace offerings, the rituals that pertain to the worship of the Most High. And they, you know, the Germans did that in their own way, but they did it on the left-hand side, dealing with science and witchcraft as well. All right. They dealt with the black arts. So here you got this guy that we're going to speak about named Johann F. Blumenbach. Johann F. Blumenbach, a German from 1752 to 1840, was the first to divide humanity on the basis of skin color. The first to divide humanity on the basis of skin color. Up to this time, no such attempts had been made. His classification set up a color line to the detriment of later generations. Mr. Blumenbach classified 5 chief races of mankind, and he goes into the Caucasian, the Mongolian, the Ethiopian, the American Indian, the Malayan, and he says he considered the Caucasian to be the original race. Blumenbach anthropologists named the whites after the Caucasus Mountain because he thought the purest white people originated there. All right. And when we read about, of course, the Caucasus Mountains, we can read about that in the scriptures. That's in the book of Job. When it talks about, matter of fact, give me Job, 30th chapter. Is it 30th chapter? Let me get that real quick. When it talks about them dwelling in the rocks. Y'all brothers know where it's at. You can call it out. Let's see. All right, it's 30th chapter and the first verse.
It's the book of Job, chapter 30, verse 1. But now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose father.
They that are younger than I have me in derision. A slap of cutting you off, by the one. That's referring to Job and his condition that he was in after the Most High brought those balls upon him, when his family was taken away from him. All right. He said, those that are younger than I have me in derision, meaning those that are in a base mindset that was lower than him. Right. You know,
whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock.
Right. He said he wouldn't have even the dogs of his flock to even stand in assembly with these people, with this particular people. All right. No, you know, so-called white man, what he likes to do with dogs, right? You know.
Verse 2. Yeah, whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age was perished.
Right. How is the strength of their hands going to profit him? He's saying they lack wisdom, right? They lack intelligence. Read on.
For want and famine, they were solitary, fleeing.
For want and famine, they were solitary, meaning they were separated from society, right? They didn't have a diet just like how we had a diet of certain nutritions and minerals. So when he's looking at the people that's in the region that's under him. I don't want to say too much because then everybody gonna start running off and saying that well, Job was you know what, but let's look at it like this. He had friends that was of the Temanites. And when you do some research, you get to understand who the Temanites was. All right. But in this case, he said, for want and famine, they were solitary. Read on. Fleeing to where?
Fleeing into the wilderness, in former time desolate and waste.
Fleeing into the wilderness in former times, desolate and in waste. Right? On a low level, in a low state on the earth. All right? Kind of like a vagabond or a hobo. Read on.
Who cut up mallows by the bushes, and juniper roots for their meat.
They was eating bushes and plants and vegetables that were accustomed to that region where they lived in, but that was not food that was suitable for us. All right? They was cutting up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. They was eating actual roots, not even the leaf itself, but the roots. Read on.
Verse 5. They were driven forth from among men.
They were driven forth from among men. When you read Arthur Koestler's 13th tribe, when he speaks about the Caucasians that was over there in Georgia, Russia, they also have family names known as the Slavics or the slaves. That's where the word slave come from. The word slave doesn't come from us. It comes as a European word that was designated to a particular family of Edomites that was up there in the Caucasus Mountains. All right. So they were driven forth from among men. Why? Because of the things that they did. They were vile people. They didn't know anything about water or soap. All right. That's why Job said, I wouldn't even have these people sit amongst the dogs of my flock. Read on.
They cried after them as after a thief.
Right. Like, get away from here. You don't belong amongst us. Read on.
To dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, in caves of the earth, and in the rocks.
Damn skippy. So when this man, Johann Blumenbach, says that, well, we come out of the Caucasus Mountains, that is true. That is true. All right? He said they came out of the cliffs of the rocks. They dwelt in the valleys and the caves on the earth. Read on.
Among the bushes they brayed. Under the nettles they were gathered together.
Right. Under the bushes they brayed. And you know, look at the word bray. Bray is a sound that like a donkey would make. All right. That's how they was communicating with each other. In that book, Arthur Koestler's 13th tribe, it goes into that as well. He said their language was similar. The explorer at that time who visited these people said these people didn't know what a toilet looked like. They didn't know the proper way to go to the bathroom. They would use the bathroom on themselves. They would pick lice out their beards and eat it for snacks. This is how they lived. He said their language was similar to that of a frog. We thought was a frog that was croaking.
God. Hey, Chief Preacher, if we look at the screen right now, that's what they were eating. These things right here, juniper roots.
Wow.
This is what they're feeding on.
Wow.
That's a rough eat right there. That's a rough eat.
Yeah, I know. They must have got some sort of nutrients from it because it's coming from the earth, but we wasn't, stuff like that.
Done.
Amalek, they got food called gefilte fish. You know what gefilte fish look like? Look like damn near caveman food in a jar.
How do you spell that?
It look like gefilte fish. It starts with a G.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's gefilte fish. It look like caveman food in a jar. Gefilte fish. No, it's gefilte fish. It starts with a GELFTA fish. If it pops up on your screen, it might be spelled wrong, but it looked like caveman food in a jar. And they have this, they have that in Pathmark in the and you know they have the religious aisle or the ethnic aisle, and they have like the Caribbean products here. They got Amalek products down there. So I used to be there looking at their stuff. Look crazy, man. They look like, you know, yeah. So they got their own diet of food. So all praise. The sister put in Chris Tucker. All right. All praises. Read the 8th verse and that's another one in Job.
Okay, before I read that, I just want to know, like, I'm gonna show my age, but if we remember that movie Quest for Fire, do you remember that movie? I don't want.
That's a throwback.
I heard of it, but I can't remember it. I remember one movie similar to that. I think it was called Planet of the Cave Bear.
The Quest for Fire was about, you know, basically it's describing everything right here in the scriptures, how they used to grunt and groan. They didn't really have a language, and how they used to, and in the caves, and they would pick bugs out of each other's hair and eat them and things of that nature. It was about the Edomites, the cavemen.
Right. Kind of the one. Now I've heard the film. Maybe one day I'm gonna check it out. I'm sure they probably got it on YouTube now, so it's pretty old. So I know it's I could probably watch it for free as opposed to going to the video store that doesn't exist anymore.
God, it's from the 80s. It's a movie from the 80s.
God.
So I'm gonna finish it. Book, chapter 30 and verse 8. They were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were viler than the earth.
Right. The Lord said they were children of fools. What's a fool? A fool is someone that leans onto their own understanding, right? They trust in human intuition as opposed to trusting in the guidelines of the Most High. Children of base men. They were viler than the earth. And we civilized these people at some point in time. But prior to that, these were individuals. Remember, the Most High had to chase Canaan out of the Garden of Eden at some point in time. All right. He went up into the mountain regions. Esau made his dwellings in Mount Seir. So that's always been their nature. And the Lord shows us that because if you look at the skyscrapers, you look at his inhabitations today, this man is still rock climbing Mount Everest. That's in his nature. He has elongated hands just to do that when they climb them rocks. All right. That's in his nature. But somehow or another, times have changed, and all of a sudden he is now on the cover of GQ magazine. He's considered the handsomest man on the planet Earth. His woman is put on display on CoverGirl magazine. She's supposed to be the epitome of beauty here in the world. See how times have changed? And that's a lie. That's a bold-faced lie. Because at the end of the day, they know damn well they got to get collagen injections to make their lips bigger. Their women got to get BBLs. They got to go into a tanning salon. They got to inject themselves with melanin in order to look like the daughters of Zion. All right. So there is a difference between us and them. Let's go into scripture some more. It's about 10:30. I'm not going to prolong this thing prolong the class after 11. I know that our people, you know, sometimes, you know, unfortunately, sometimes you got things to do the following day and you got to go to work. And we also know for our people that are not used to sitting down and learning, you know, from one another, especially in class, it can be sometimes, you know, somewhat long and elongated. So I'm not going to do that to y'all. All right. So let's get the book of Jeremiah. Let's get a few more scripts. The book of Jeremiah, the 2nd chapter, 11 to the 14th verse. Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 11.
God, this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 2, starting at verse 11. Have a nation changed their gods, which are yet no gods? But my people have changed their glory for that which doth not profit.
Right. Have a nation changed their gods, which are yet no gods? But my people have changed their glory for that which doth not profit. All right. We gave up on the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob to worship false idols, to worship deities that was worshipped by the other nations. So the Lord called them no gods. These ain't no gods. How do they profit us? 12th verse.
Be astonished, O ye heavens, at this, and be horribly afraid. Be ye very desolate, saith the Most High.
The Most High is calling the heavens as a witness. The sun, moon, the stars, angels, right? He's calling all these entities as a witness, telling them, yo, listen, be astonished, be horribly afraid, be very desolate, saith the Lord. All right? Because the angels of the Most High, they don't play. The sun and moon and stars, they work like clockwork. And they have a spirit in them. All right? Even the plants and the animals in their way, in their glory, they big up the Most High. They give the Most High worship and credence in their behavior. Right? Read on.
Verse 13. For my people have committed 2 evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters, and hewed them out cisterns, broken cisterns that can hold no water.
Right. They brought out buckets of water to quench their thirst, but the buckets that they're bringing to their mouths can't even hold no water. It ain't making them clean. It's not quenching their thirst. It's not sufficing them. It's not satisfying them. We've forsaken the Most High, which is the fountain of living waters. For what? Buddha? Islam? Roman Catholicism? What else? New Age religion? So forth and so on, right? Read on.
Verse 14. Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled?
Right. It's Yasha'Allah, which means he is a prince, right? In the Hebrew, Yasha'Allah, a prince. Is he now a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled? Meaning what? Why is he always going into captivity? Why is he seeing he's always going into slavery? Is that our future? To constantly be working for someone else? To constantly be oppressed? You stole our nationality, right? You told the world that us being black was a curse.
Mm-hmm.
Stole our lands. Stole our culture. Put us in poverty. turned our young men and influenced them into being homosexuals, our young daughters and sisters into lesbianism, made us look in a state of shambles, less than men in front of our women, influenced a lifestyle that's contrary to the Most High, gave us religion, gave us politics, put kings over us that didn't look like us. Like, how much more? And we can go on and on and on and on. No army, no national flag. So the question Jeremiah is asking, in the spirit, is he a homeborn slave? Was he destined for slavery? Why is he spoiled? Right? Why is he spoiled? Everything. We work hard. By the time we bring home, we done got bags. By the time we get home, the money done came out already. Meaning that what? You got to pay taxes. You got to pay bills. You got to pay this. You got to pay that. Some of us figuring out how to put money aside to save. An emergency comes up, got to dig into your account. Next thing you know, you back to zero again. You got to rebuild that up. That's been an ongoing thing for us as a people. And for our people that's in that position that might have a little bit more than anyone else, than most of us or some of us, they look at that as their reward on this earth.
We can precept that. We can precept that up with Jeremiah 5:19. You mind if I grab it real quick?
Can't get that out of one. I'll read it for you.
Give me 1 second. Pull up on the screen. Come on, soul system. All right, here we go.
Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 19. And it shall come to pass, when ye shall say, wherefore doeth the Lord our God all these things unto us? Then shalt thou answer them, like as ye have forsaken me, and served strange gods in your land, so shall ye serve strangers in a land that is not yours. That's on you, about to stop.
God, that's exactly what took place. When we stopped serving the Most High, we wind up doing what? Serving other gods. We did it like even when we came out of Egypt, we were craving for that meat and bread coming up out of Egypt. The same thing that happened to Lot's wife when she looked back. You know what I'm saying? Every time we disobey the Most High, we go into a hell of a slavery. And this one right here is one of the worst ones, right? Because right now we're in a strange land. And what do we serve? When we look at the Statue of Liberty, we're saluting the Greek goddess Libertas. Libertas. You know what I mean? So when the heathen know these things, like, you know, even when you go in the scripture, it talks about when they had spies watching us. And when the spy was able to see us serving our power and living righteously, they would go back and report to their kings or our enemies and saying, hey, this is not the time to attack them because they're serving their God and their God will fight for them. But when they saw us falling astray and falling off, going backwards and acting like base men, guess what? That's when they had the strength and the knowledge to run up against us because they knew that we forsake the Most High God. So the only way that we can never get out of this condition is to do what? To return back to our Father, to return back to our power, which is why our name is Yashala, which is what? The Prince of the Power, right? So pretty much we got to declare this all across the earth. That it's time, now is the time to repent and return to our power, which is the Most High, and the faith of Hamashiach Yahushua. We got to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. We got to separate ourselves, be set apart, which is the word holy, right? Which is why you see us inside our homes, taken away from our own free time by doing what? Bringing this message to you, to remove the shackles off your mind, to remove those veils off your eyes, because there's nothing out there in that world for us other than what our enemies have ever set up for us, which is our own destruction. We see it we hear it in the music, we see it in what's on TV, and the low-level places, just like when Zion asked that question. You know, that was an interesting question that Zion asked earlier. when he said, why is it that, or he said that, why is it that black people always die first in horror movies? I remember growing up that it was always the white guy dying, and it was always the black guy, one of the last survivors. But for whatever reason, they want to change that look up now. Why? Because they want us to stay what? What's the word I want to use? Domesticized. The way that we domesticate animals. They look at black people as being domesticated animals, and then they turn around and flip their fingers up at us when the animals are going buck wild in the streets, right? So we see these curses on our people. We see the destruction on us, and the further and further we pull ourselves away from this system of oppression and the system of destruction, is the closer we are to our salvation and our true freedom. That's what liberty is. That's what Christ told the prophets, told the apostles to do, to go preach liberty to those that are captive. We're the ones that are in captivity. This is our liberty, this word, this truth, the commandments, and this understanding, and taking back what righteously belongs to us, and separating for this so-called land of opportunity, where we're still a slave being taxed to the 5th degree. You got anything, Zion?
Just, scripture, just to follow up what both you brothers said, man, and just to add to the wisdom in the book of Baruch, chapter 3 and verse 8, it says, behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments, according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our God. Hear, O Israel, the commandments of life, and give ear to understand wisdom. How happened it, Israel, that thou art in thine enemy's land, that thou art waxen old in a strange country, that thou art defiled with the dead?
Read verse 11 out of 1.
Verse 11, that thou art counted with them that go down into the grave.
Walking dead men that are alive that are walking dead.
And read the next verse after that other one.
Verse 13, for if thou hast walked, Salah.
12.
Verse 12, thou hast forsaken the fountain of wisdom.
Pause right there, and it goes right back to what we just read in what's that? Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 11. Let's forsake the Most High, fountain of living waters. We have hewn out broken cisterns that can't hold on waters. That's referring right back to wisdom. So all praises on that scripture right there. And being that we already in the Apocrypha, let's stay in the Apocrypha. Give me Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter, and the 10th, I believe it's the 10th verse, Ecclesiastes 12 and 10.
Book of Sirach, chapter 12 and verse 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness.
Right, just like it says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. If the tribe of Gad had read this, they would have probably thought twice about making them treaties. All right, they would have thought twice about making them treaties with these what the United States cavalry. They would have thought twice about these things, right?
Oh crap! I thought I was sharing. My bad, Salakia. I thought I had that shirt up. No, I thought I had the screen shares.
Read the 11th verse, Zion.
Kind out of 1. Sirach, chapter 12, verse 11. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as thou hast wiped a looking glass. And thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away.
Right. That's why we got a lot of our young sisters out there. Man, some of these sisters, man, they deal with these people and they don't come back home alive.
Yeah.
All right. Same thing, these young brothers. They get accepted into a sorority. They playing sports with them, so forth and so on. Next thing you know, they don't come back home alive. Something happens.
And the ones that are and the ones that remain alive, usually, like I know that the women will go after celebrities and sports figures and walk away from them with all of their resources and their wealth. They'll either obtain it by the death or by divorce. And you can see nowadays that's happening to a lot of sisters. A lot of sisters are dealing with them. They're being divorced, and their resources and their wealth is being taken because now they have these Edomite men that are demanding a spousal support.
God.
and they're getting it. Like they're getting over $10,000 a month spousal support by some of these celebrity so-called black women, man, that marry these men.
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing. If you look at the situation with Serena Williams, she's still married to that Edomite, but in that same situation, if they ever divorce, he coming from that wealth. He coming from that bag. Now think about it. That's what they want daughters to do.
Take Halle Berry for example.
Yep.
Not only did she lose an abundance of her wealth, but she also lost custody of her child.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Right.
Yep.
Let me
Jonathan Majors.
Yep. Jonathan Majors. Yep.
Crying wolf. And she cried wolf on him. All of a sudden, she cried the four-letter word, right? The R word. I ain't gonna say it on camera. You know what I'm saying? She cried the four-letter word. Mm-hmm. And that's going on a lot these days. Four-letter word. Look at Black China. Whatever she thought she was gonna get some bread dealing with the Kardashians. She forgot that she didn't know that she didn't get the memo that she was dealing with some high sorcery and top witches.
Warlocks and witches.
Now all of a sudden she's a Christian. She's back in church. She got her liposuction taken out of her lips. She got it taken out all over her body. Hopefully she wake up. All praise to the Most High. Hope she has an opportunity for someone to share the truth with her. Because whatever she may have experienced, it sent it straight to church, brother.
Let me just grab two more out of these real quick. Let me grab verse 12 and verse 16. And it reads in verse 12, set him not by thee, lest when he has overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place, which is what he was talking about with what the chief priest was just mentioning about the tribe of Gad. Same thing with our people, welcoming these people around us into our communities and our cultures, believing that they're our friends or that they're black on the inside but white or pink or whatever color on the outside, right? It says, set him not by thee, lest when he has overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let them sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat, and thou at thy last remember my words and be pricked therewith. Drop down to verse 16. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he has imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. That goes right back to what the brothers were just talking about. Our women, our men being locked in with these people, stride for stride, and then when they get the chance, they try to take our seats. How do you think Amalek got the position in Israel? They were the ones talking about raise it, meaning destroy Jerusalem. And that's when we got ran up out of there. That's how they took their place in our seat. Now they got the whole world convinced that they're us through the whitewashing of history, through the Renaissance era. And that's why our people are so locked in trying to be Nubian and Egyptian and a Moor and Catholic and all these other religions and false creeds. Even in college, taking these oaths as in these sororities and fraternities. We want to be everything else but ourselves and never want to do the research. It's just interesting you're diving into these Greek fraternities and pledging, but when you go into the history, the Greeks were one of the first white people to ever destroy us. They always want to take our place. They always want to take our seat. All you got to do is look in hip hop right now. You got all these white. I was just watching this documentary on this white boy who's his family comes from millions, and he became one of the biggest drill artists in New York, perpetrating the fraud. And how did he do that? He got Fabio Foreign and all these other guys doing these drill songs with him. And even after he got exposed, because he was he had a marketing company, he knew how to market himself and get beyond the things that would get us kicked out of the industry. Meaning that we're fake gangsters, fake rappers, we're not from the hood, you know, things like that, that cancel culture. So that's the same thing that happened with Kanye. The cancel culture, Kyrie Irving. Our enemies are never for us. They're always against us. And the sooner we wake up and realize that, we'll be better off as a people.
Con one. So all praises on that. Does the listening or viewing audience have any questions, any comments they'd like to bring out within the last maybe 20 minutes of this particular lesson? Pray and hope that you're edified in the spirit, you're able to use this information to build you up for the rest of the week and be able to share that with your loved ones, your family members, and your friends. Any questions, any comments?
If you think of any questions later, just send it to the email below at ambassadoryabatazai@gmail, and I'll make sure I get it over to Chief Priest Shar for the Saturday Q&A.
If you have any questions or make a comment pertaining to today's lesson within the 20 minutes that we got left or less, throw it out there. Sister Beverly, Shalom. Sister Iskarite Princess, hope you're still hanging in there. Sister Wonder Wana, hope you're enjoying the class.
Mother Pathaya in the building. That's a sharp mother, man. I love me, Mother Pathaya, man. That's one of my favorite mothers in all Israel. That woman is sharp, and she don't play no games.
All praises.
That woman is sharp. Yes, she is.
Brother by the name of Slip Novert, still in the building. It's like if I butchered your name, brother. Sister Tasha Jordan, Shalom, sister. Hope you're enjoying the class. Kana Rina Yasha'ala, Shalom, sister. Hope you're enjoying the class. Any question, comments? All right, so let's go on. Got a new comment?
Yeah, just real quick for that brother Jeff, he made a comment earlier. I don't want him to think I ignored him. He said, if you did this like American and are telling facts from the past, why are you staying in America? Y'all better off in Yemen. So I told him in the chat to go ahead and send his comments over to the Q&A, and we'll address it on Saturday. But the reality of it is that we're going to be in captivity around the four corners of the earth. There's no place that Jay can run and flee to find salvation. The curses and all the judgment is going to take place over the four corners of the earth, Adawan. So I don't want you to think that you run into Yemen, which is over there by Israel or in the so-called Middle East, though our enemies are still over there. And if you know anything about what the scripture says he was going to gather all nations where? In the valley of Jehoshaphat. Where's that at? Right over by Yemen. So if that's going to be the place of judgment, I'm not trying to flee nowhere. Hey, when Christ come back and he come to redeem us, I'm going to be right here in America. And I pray the Most High that I'm part of the ones that are spared, and all my brothers and sisters in the faith, that we're the ones that are spared of that judgment, and we don't have to go through that first death.
Right. And I think the brother I don't think he was being rude when he said that. I just think that he probably was looking at it from the perspective of, because Yemen, it comes from the word Benjamin or Benjamin.
Yeah, kind of.
And you do, from what I saw on a documentary, that they have a small family that still exists over there. They look like they can pass for Ishmael, but we know, at the end of the day, we got Israelites that even look close to almost like Edomites.
They call them they call them Afro-Yemenis.
Right.
Afro-Yemenis.
Yep, they right in that land. And right now, and even got some Moabites. I'm not sure where they are. I think they're in China. They call themselves Jews. Their forefathers were Jews, and they practice hardcore Judaism. All right, they practice hardcore Judaism. So let's get into these two scriptures, and then after that, we'll close it out. This is almost 11 o'clock. Give me a book of Ecclesiastes. No, let's not get into that. Give me Psalms 5 and 6. And after that, Isaiah 60th chapter, 1 and 6. So we just want to make sure that our people understand at the end of the day that when dealing with this particular race of people, that because of our sins and us disobeying the Most High allowed them to rule over us, to provoke us to jealousy. But they also furthered our captivity by making this one of the worst captivities ever faced by any nation or human being on the planet Earth. The things that happened to us has not happened to the other races. That what makes us distinguish between us and them. You cannot compare the Holocaust to the so-called African American Holocaust that has existed. You can't compare Amalek or the so-called Jews Holocaust to the Holocaust that took place against the Native American Indians. You can't compare the Holocaust that took place with Amalek, the so-called Jew, against the Aztecs and the things they experienced under the hands of the Spaniards. Hernan Cortez, Christopher Columbus. It's uncomparable. All right, what we experience. So it behooves us to acknowledge who our enemies are. Yes, we got to go out there and work. Yes, we got to agree with our adversary while he is in the way to a certain extent. But if they're preventing you from doing what you got to do for the Lord and from worshiping the Most High, you have to stand up for righteousness. As long as it's involved, you putting your, you know what I'm saying, going into anything physical. All right. But we have to stand up for what is right. Just remember who he is. Give me Psalms, the 5th chapter and the 6th verse. And after that, we're going to get Isaiah, the 60th chapter, verses 1 through 6. Because if anyone does say anything or condone, yes, does the Bible condone slavery? It does condone slavery. It condones servitude. How you think America was built up? How you think Egypt was built? All right. We have something in our laws that does how we deal with Israelites in servitude and non-Israelites in servitude. We have to deal with them according to righteousness. According to righteousness, right? Give me Psalms 5 and 6, and then after, give me Isaiah 60th chapter 1 through 6.
The book of Psalms, chapter 5, verse 6. Thou shalt destroy them that speak leasing. The Lord will abhor the bloody and deceitful man.
The word leasing is just the word lies. The Lord said he's going to destroy those that speak lies. All right? Lies against the Most High, lies against his anointed son, lies against the angels of the Lord, lies against his true people of the Lord. He will abhor and have hatred towards the bloody and deceitful man. All right? And who has shed more blood than our enemies? Who has shed more blood on this earth to the point that even certain animals are extinct on this planet? Look what happened over there in in Niger? They just got rid of a United States embassy out of that land. Look at the African countries now. They telling the so-called white man they don't want them out. They don't want them there no more. Because while he's promoting it, he's bringing in the same false democracy. He's bringing that same LGBTQ agenda to these races down in South Africa. And they're not having it. They're not dealing with that. You can't do that towards the Muslim Brotherhood. You can't bring that to Al Qaeda. All right. But they're doing that to us, especially over here in the Americas. All right. And give me Isaiah, the 60th chapter, and first verse. You got any scripture you want to bring out? Any closing scriptures, Zion?
I'm just gonna let you close it out, King.
Okay. What about you? You about to say you got any closing scripture before we close it out? I guess he's probably busy. Okay, come. All right, so start from the first verse. Isaiah 60th chapter.
No, I don't want them to wild, bro. You can go ahead and close it out. I'm just grabbing the scriptures for you.
Okay, no problem.
This is Isaiah chapter 60, verse 1. Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee.
All right, so talking about darkness, especially in the last days, darkness is also attributed to lack of wisdom. But in this case, the Lord said that the light that's going to break forth and shine is going to come from him, based on his wisdom. Read on.
And the Gentiles shall come to thy light, and the kings to the brightness of thy rising. Lift up thine eyes round about, and see. All they gathered themselves together. They come to thee. Thy sons shall come from afar, and thy daughters shall be nursed at thy side.
Right, read on.
Then thou shalt see, and flow together, and thine heart shall fear, and be enlarged, because the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto thee. The forces of the Gentiles shall come unto thee.
Right, so the force of the Gentiles, remember the word sea also represents the people. They're going to come unto thee to serve us, right? No longer we going to be their nurse, they're going to be our nurses. No longer shall our women give suckling unto their children, but it's going to be the other way around. It's going to be vice versa. Read on.
The multitude of camels shall cover thee, and the dromedaries of Midian and Ephah, all they from Sheba shall come. They shall bring gold and incense, and they shall show forth praises of the Lord.
Right. So the Midianites, the Arabs, Sheba representing the Ethiopians, these other nations are going to all come and flow onto us because of the Most High's light and wisdom that shines upon us. We're going to be able to have that attraction to the other people the same way Solomon had that same influence on the earth. All right. The same way the nations at some point in time, they're going to ask us to show us the ways of the Lord. If they don't come and serve the Most High, Lord said he's not going to bring them water and a prosperous crops in their time of season during the latter or the beginning of the harvest seasons. All right. So all these things, some of the stuff is going to take place here on this earth before we leave. Some of the prophecy we read about is going to take place when we get into the kingdom. But as we look at everything that's going on right now, just keep in mind that, again, as always, we got to watch as well as pray. We have to see that the Most High is setting up things on this earth. When he starts blowing these horns and these trumpets that the angels are going to blow, there's seals that's going to be opening up. Is there going to be a civil war in this country? According to scriptures, yes, there will be. Is there going to be race wars on this earth? As we can see right now, it's looked like it's going in that direction. All right. Especially with this whole migrant thing going on right now. And our brothers that just came over here to these countries, look at the people that's coming over here. A lot of them are not the dark-skinned Hispanics. A lot of them are the lighter Hispanics that's coming over here. Why? Because you got Border Patrol that's preventing these things from preventing certain people from coming over here to these countries. They're very strategic as to who they're letting in these countries now. So I guess, hey, our Spanish brothers and sisters, we pray they wake up as well and realize that the Moreno, the Cocolo, whatever you want to call them, is not your enemy. We are all in the same boat together. We're all fighting for the same jobs together. We're all being oppressed by the police, Border Patrol, FBI, COINTELPRO, militia groups, all that. They're all gunning for us. All right? So it behooves us to come together and for us to know who we are and how to apply these laws, statutes, and commandments to our lives so we can be prosperous in this world and the world to come. And it said, add on to that, Proverbs 29:2 states that when the wicked are in authority, when the wicked are in power, the people mourn. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. All right. So yes, servitude is in the scriptures, but it was to the point where we had to deal with them correctly and fairly according to the words of the Most High, and the words of the Most High is just. It was to the point where certain servants didn't even want to leave the comfort zone and protection of us because they saw the power of the Most High that resonated amongst the children of Israel. So with that, being that there's no questions, no comments, I just want to tell everybody in the listening audience and the viewing audience, Thawada, and thank you for your time. Just want to give all credence again unto the Most High and his anointed son, Yahweh Shai, for allowing us to be able to speak and utter these precious words that come from this book in order to inspire our people. May the Most High continue to bless us all in all y'all dwellings, protect your families. And the next high holiday coming up will be the new moon, which will be actually tomorrow, or I believe so-called Saturday. So that's the time period you want to, open the floodgates of your prayers unto the Most High. So as the moon waxes in strength, you're waxing in strength as well. Because we have to know how to use the elements around us for their true purpose. All right. So whatever goals that you may have, either today, tomorrow, the next few days, ask the Most High, pray on it. And it's going to be inspirational, and watch how the Most High increases you in the process. All right. Count them 14 days from the new moon up until the full moon. Do what's right before the Lord. If you have to fast, you got to pray, you got to study, and see if the Most High doesn't bring a blessing upon you. He said, try me and see. All right. But we don't want to try the Most High. Try him. All right. Dedicate them 14 days up until the new moon, up until the full moon, and see if the Most High don't open up certain doors for you. All right. Just be consistent. All right. So with that, any closing statements, Yabatazar?
Just give all praise and honor and all praise and honor to the Most High and Yahweh Shai. Thank you again for the edification, Chief Priest Zakrakah, for taking time away from your family and to bring this light to the people. And just humbled to be a fellow servant in this walk into the kingdom, man. I was about to drop a link, and I'm trying to see if I can get it. When I mentioned about the things about the Afro Yemis, and in regards to that comment I was making. So I was going to drop a link in the chat for people just to go ahead and take a look at on their own time and come to their own conclusion about should we flee over there and things like that. It was just some information about what takes place over there. But all praise to the Most High, the One, and Thawada Zion for tuning in with us too, man. Always great to have your presence with us, brother. Miss you definitely.
Water for having me, man. I just want to say all praise to the Most High and to the nation of Israel, Ashah, Kadasha Rock, man, so that we can. I think the new moon is tomorrow.
Tomorrow evening. I believe so.
Come.
Have a feast.
We're going to end the class. You having a feast tomorrow too? Y'all brothers living with brothers' side?
Yeah, man. I always look forward to the new moon, man. Open that grill, let that open fire, throw some good lamb on there. You know, have a good time, man.
All praises. All praises. All right. Okay, Tawada again, family. Okay, Augustus Kane. Shalom, shalom to you as well. Thanks for tuning in. And we're gonna end this course, end this class until the next beautiful brother comes up tomorrow, or for the Shabbat Q&A, which will be Chief Priest Shanathanya. Until then, be patient, possess your souls, and shalom. Shalom, family, shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.